Have you had your project ever go off the rails, scratch your head wondering how or exactly why it happened? Well, in this video, I want to talk to you guys about a project management tool. Oof, I know, sounds scary, but a project management tool that may help you in your next filmmaking project. So let's get into it. Good, fast, cheap. Choose two. I think you've all heard that before. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about the project management triangle and how it can relate to your filmmaking projects. In fact, how it can relate to all projects. So let's dig deeper. The project management triangle. I'm hearing you thinking, like, what is that? What has that got to do with filmmaking? Well, it's got to do with all projects. And in that triangle, you have 3 points. And those 3 points are the cost, the scope, as in quality, and time. The theory goes is that you are likely compromise on one of them. This creates what's called a trilemma. Compromises on two of them will ultimately affect the overall project's quality. These 3 elements are constraints that you're going to find on all projects. And it's important to recognize that one of these elements will always be fixed within a project. For instance, time and cost are never unlimited on projects. Otherwise, this triangle wouldn't work, right? So in reality, time and cost are never unlimited. So the quality of the project and the deliverables, in this case, your film, is always going to be affected by these 3 constraints. So one of these constraints will always be fixed, and really you want to, you're trying your best to only affect one constraint and have the 2 work synergistically. The corners of the project triangle are commonly replaced. For instance, scope for being good, cost for being cheap or expensive, and time for being fast or slow. Example number 1, finish your project good and cheap will likely mean it won't be fast. In the second example, if you finish your project good and fast, the likelihood is that the skill required to do so will mean that you can't charge cheap. Your level of skill that allowed the project to be quick as well as good means that you can't charge cheaply. And the last combination is if you finish your project fast and cheap, then the resources at your fingertips will be such that it's very unlikely that it will be good, right? You kind of see how it's starting to work. So when a client thinks, oh, let me just get a project fast and cheap. Well, okay, you can have it fast and cheap, but what will happen is that I won't have enough resources at my fingertips to be able to make this really good. So there will always be a constraint left. Some are dictated by time, in which case you have a time to finish the project and a time to deliver the project. And that's often usually the fixed constraint in the triangle. Looking at it from a whole, which element is the fixed element? Is it the cost or is it the time? Usually it's either one of those. So the interesting thing about this is that you can kind of start to see how it really affects the projects you work on. So for instance, if one of the things you have is fixed time, okay, maybe time goes out the window, maybe through personal reasons or through reasons outside of your control, things start to go awry with time. Okay, so there's that. Well, you can look at cost and quality. So with cost, you can ask for more and perhaps have more people work on the project with you in order to complete it. And then that will keep the quality in line. Or you try and work fast. When have you been on a project where you've had as much time as you want and as much money as you need? It just doesn't happen. Okay, it just doesn't happen. So these constraints are always met with differences. But the interesting point is that you can mitigate how you want it to come out. So it's good to understand which of these constraints is the fixed one and which are more flexible, especially when we're planning the projects. when we're planning our films, even, doesn't matter. One of these constraints will be fixed. So is that time, the time in which you have to actually complete the film, or the days you have to shoot it? Or is it cost? You only have X amount to your budget, and therefore all of the resources you need to pull out are through the actual cost. One of these elements will always be fixed. So the next time you're working with a client or even on a project, right, and you want it fast, good, and cheap, no, it's just not going to be possible. Tell the client, yeah, no, I don't think so. It's only going to be two of those things. And that's just the way these projects work out. And so it's really useful to understand the project management triangle. So I hope this was helpful. Thank you for listening. If you like this kind of content, I'll be doing some more. Please subscribe and share and like. I mean, you know the deal by now. It helps out the channel and it helps me provide these kind of videos to you. So thank you very much for listening. Love to see you in the next one. And remember, guys, it's never too late. Peace out.